Hello everyone, I'm Rohit and joining me is Swathi, and we are bringing you the fourth episode of Rewired. And you know it's not a race, so it did take us some time to have that gap between third and fourth episodes. And we are excited that we are able to reach out to all the people around the globe. We are delighted to have you as a part of our podcast, and we thank you also for giving your invaluable feedback as well. We would also want you to be a part of our journey here, and we are excited about something very special in this episode, and I'll let Swathi share that with you.
Hey everyone, welcome back. And as you all know, this podcast is about brain stroke survivors, but we also believe that it would not be complete until we hear from our first responders, caretakers, friends and family members. So today we have Rohit here with us along with his close friend Venu, and he was with him all along the first episode that Rohit had in 2009. And he, along with his friends, got Rohit the first immediate assistance that was required. And we would like to hear more from Venu. So, hi Venu, welcome to the podcast. And first of all, thank you so much for your time. We know you've come from a pretty far off place here, and we will be ever so grateful that you could tell us about what happened when you were in 2009 with Rohit and share the details as much as possible.
Hi Swathi, thanks for inviting me. So Rohit and me, we went for engineering, and it was the year 2002. And so to put how well I knew Rohit, imagine you pick up a book, right? So generally we do is we see the front page, right? The heading and the back, and that is what we had in engineering. That much less we knew. But we didn't know that we were going to same university for our masters, and we were roommates. And over a period of time, you can think that book got filled with a lot of chapters. Like any good read, it has got all the emotions, ups and downs, all the fun we had together during the weekends, the trips. So it was a good, complete friendship.
That's really great to know, Venu. So during all this time, did you ever see him having any physical issues or any health issues? And was he fit? Like, what did you see around him when you were studying with him?
So Rohit was always bundle of energy. When he came to the university in US, he was a skinny guy, right? Tall, skinny guy. And over a period of time, he bulked up. He was into sports. We used to play racquetball regularly, and he has this very good self-discipline because of which he bulked up and did some bodybuilding. He was fit physically and mentally.
Yeah, he's got a lot of energy even now. When this incident happened, this was around September 2009, and were you around him then, and were you with him through the days leading up to the incident? Because I remember Rohit had gone for some skiing trip. That's what he had told us. So were you with him there, or were you with him later on when he came back?
The skiing trip that you're talking about, he went with his colleagues. So this is like he completed his masters, and then he joined a job, and he was busy. Like in the morning he used to go, and in the evening he used to come back, right? So I was not there at that time.
Actually, Swathi, my roommates were not around when I was with that headache which started, and I think they were out, and I was having such immense pain, and I was like literally pushing my head with both my hands.
But what happened was, I remember when he came back from his skiing, and our roommates, like me, I was his roommate. There is Rajesh, then Raghu, and Gautam. These are other roommates, and we, all of us, with Meruganna, there is another senior of us. His name is Merugu. We call him as Meruganna. We went outside. We came home, and instantly we saw that there was some change in his demeanor, physically.
Could you describe this physical change? Could you elaborate on it? Like what exactly was happening?
he was all alone at home. So probably he was alone for long hours. I cannot recollect exact how many number of hours. So we all came and just saw him, and he was low in his energy, and he was sleeping afternoon to evening, to be precise. So we just talked to him what is happening and everything. He was saying like he was having mild fever and headache. I remember that he was not very emphatic in what he wanted to say. So then Mergana said, okay, let's go for a drive. And we ended up at a juice shop. He drank the juice, and within few minutes he puked off the juice. Then we realized something is wrong, really wrong. Then we went to a clinic kind of setting, like small hospital, and this is where everybody got shook. The first question the doctor asked was, what is your name? And he didn't know the answer for that. And like we were like looking at each other, what is happening? He's not able to answer that question. A simple question, what is your name? And he's not able to answer that question.
That must have been really shocking for a bunch of you who've known him for so long and who are living with him. And it's also very difficult to take that your friend is going through something that you have no idea about. In the previous episode, he mentioned about what he remembers, and he had spoken about all your friends taking him to the clinic, the hospital, and he remembers lying down on one of your laps. He was not able to speak much. So could you tell us a little bit about that before we move ahead?
Sure, yeah. So obviously he was not himself, basically. And I saw him, he completely became a child.
A child who couldn't speak, a child who couldn't express, and a child who was in pain. Yeah.
So we were there to support him because we are not family, we are friends, we don't have any expectations, unlike the family. To a certain, they have expectations and peer pressure and all. We were just doing what best we could do at that point of time.
Of course, but you are the friends who took care of him. You were there with him in the most important moment, and it's great that you immediately realized that something was wrong and you had to take him. I hope your friends will listen to this podcast.
I'm sure they will hear it, and trust me, Swathi, I'm going to forward it to everybody. If not for me, at least they'll listen to Venu's voice for the first time in a podcast.
Could you tell us a little bit more about how his state of mind was, or was he completely down and out?
Sure. So, as an emergency precaution, he was made to lie on a bed, and there was this catheter given to him. He was in pain, which he was unable to express. So, to be precise, he was little bit agitated, but that agitation is not strong because he's weak. He has become weak. If somebody is talking to him, this is the first moment it shook me, because he was saying he's not able to communicate. Venu, you tell. The moment he said my name, I realized like he forgot everybody's name. How did he pick up my name? You know?
I also remember you were talking about taking him to a clinic before he went to a hospital. So could you just elaborate on what happened at the clinic and why you took him to another hospital?
Yeah, sure. So we took him to the clinic, right? And there the doctor said, take him immediately to the emergency. That's what the doctor message was, right? After she asked his name, he could not answer it. She explicitly said, take him to emergency. Then we ran to the nearest and biggest hospital that we had. Now there what happened was, there were preliminary tests they conducted, and this doctor, he came to us after those tests and showed, I think it was an X-ray, and said exactly that this is a golf ball sized tumor. And this was another shock to us. I mean, tumor is such a scary thing, you know, it's such a severe, critical and rare, and he's having that, and he says like golf ball tumor, and on top of it he said please make sure that his immediate family members be here as soon as possible. So that scared all of us.
That's a lot to handle. And I guess the only save was that you were together. And, when your friends are together, it just makes things easier. So, tell me something. Did you think of taking another opinion? Like, would there have been a need for a second opinion?
Yeah, Venu, it never crossed my mind. Did you take a second opinion? I'm curious as well.
Honestly, second opinion, we didn't realize those things. People take second opinions and all. No, we were like just small kids, just graduated and doing our masters. And of course, there were our seniors who were wise enough to make very good decisions at that time, like Madhu Srinivas. So, but we didn't have that time and luxury at that moment to think of. Thought we would have the best facilities and healthcare.
So at what point did you inform or reach out to his family members, and how did you know who to reach out to?
So as soon as doctors said to bring their parents or immediate family members, and I saw Rohit, the only communication he was doing is gestures. He was unable to speak, unable to say anything. So I knew that he had two best friends who were living in different states of the same country, in USA. I reached out to Varun, I reached out to Rakesh, and they suggested, instead of calling their parents directly, they suggested to call his mama, and they would inform what's going on and everything. So that's how we got in touch with their family members.
So, Venu, when did Rohit's mama actually fly down after he was informed?
So he came down within a week, and so I was with Rohit. So Rohit was moved into a larger room where constantly was under observation, and this is like period of 1 week.
Were you guys there with him during that time before his mama turned up?
Swathi, before Venu answers, I would like to give you my answer. The only constants in the room were the bed, the table, the chair, me, and Venu. Yeah, my other roommates would come and go, but these were the constants. So I don't know when my uncle came, but Venu, when did he come?
So he was he had this tumor kind of analysis, right? And then the specialist came and he did the MRI and said it is not actually a tumor, which was a good news, and it was a clot. And they did this procedure, removed the clot and everything, and that was when he was in ICU, and then he was moved into a less intense care. I don't know exactly what it is called, where he was in constant observation, and he was there for like 1 week before his mama arrived. And during this period, there was a couch there. I was lying there all day and talking to friends and updating their status. And whenever they had free time, they used to come and see him, talk to him. And I was like the center point of like updating at some point of time. But all of them showed up. All of them were, checking on him all the time. So we had a very close-knit family kind of environment with respect to friends, because we used to go all together. We all went to everywhere. Be it national parks, be it like somewhere to a coffee shop during weekends.
And then so you went to the hospital also together and stayed together. You said you were the center point and a lot of people were flying in and flying out. But you also mentioned that there was a procedure that was done after the MRI, and after they realized that this is not a tumor, thankfully, this is a clot. Do you remember what kind of a procedure was it?
I do not exactly remember, but the doctor said that people at this location that where we are seeing, they have seen similar and a lot cases of such.
I'm sure Rohit is very grateful that you were there supporting him through all this and informing everybody and keeping everybody updated, because that's quite a task and it can be quite harrowing. Because I think in 2009 you were all very young, and at such a young age to see somebody that close to you go through it is also difficult, and it's also traumatizing for yourself if not anything else. So Venu, during Rohit's time in ICU, what kind of doctors were actually coming and meeting him? Because I know that he had a speech problem. I know that he had a vision problem, and he has described all this in the previous episodes. But from your point of view, it would be great to know about what all he went through in ICU.
During that 1 week, he was under constant observation. Every hour, a nurse would come and check on him, and there were different things lined up as a schedule. He would get different kinds of food on time, and a nurse would come, show up, change, different things in the room, be it the fluids. And then evening during the rounds, a doctor would come. Later what happened is I saw a speech therapist also assigned. And when the speech therapist came, she opened a book and I was like surprised. She opened like the letters, A, B, C, D, and was asking, what is this? He was unable to say, he was unable to recognize. I was so shocked. He could not even remember the letters A, B, C, D. So then realized like he lost everything. Now he has to learn from the scratch, even, letters, words, connecting the words, sentences and everything. I felt like it was a Herculean task at that time. I didn't realize that much effect a stroke would do to a person.
Yeah, it is true. Actually, only when you really have a stroke or you see someone going through it, especially because you saw it very closely, is when you realize what a stroke can really do to a person. The unfortunate thing about strokes is it can randomly happen to anybody. Somebody who's as fit as Rohit was at that time, it was a huge shock. And of course, then you seeing all these things and every step of the way, seeing how suddenly overnight things have changed for him, that was very shocking, I guess, too. Because I remember when my family members or my friends would come and they would see me there, I had slowed down in my speech. I didn't lose my language like Rohit, but I had actually slowed down in speech. So it was very difficult for them to take it. That suddenly somebody who talks so normally is not even able to open her mouth. So I could probably just talk for a second or few minutes and then stop. Yeah, I understand what that must feel like.
Venu, the way you're sharing these things, I just think it has happened to someone else. I feel like a third person who's listening to a conversation between you and Swathi. Did it really happen to me?
Yes, Rohit, it does make us feel that way. Years later after the stroke, and I still keep thinking, oh my God, did this really happen to me? And when somebody else in front of me is talking about me, it gets even more surreal. So coming back to you, Venu, could you tell us about what happened when Rohit's uncle arrived? Did that change anything?
So I remember this day when his mama arrived. Till then, he was the Rohit who used to struggle. The moment the door opened and his mama entered, it was like some force has entered him. And I realized like, okay, this is the power of family. From that day onwards, he picked up like exponentially. I cannot put exactly in words. I don't know what happened. He saw his mama and the process, be it therapy or be it his body language and everything changed. He became active. He's constantly improved from there.
So you all were there, and then once his mama came in, did you guys feel a little more relaxed about the situation yourselves?
Absolutely. So after his mama came and we understood connection and everything, his mama took care of everything. He was a very proactive person, and I understood why Varun and Rakesh were suggesting his mama there. my roommates, all the friends in there, we were relaxed completely. And that's when we went back to our own things and activities and schedules and everything.
So weight off your shoulders, huh? Yeah, and all your friends. Who was handling all the paperwork, in the hospital? What were you taking care of, and how difficult was it, or was it easy? What was the situation about the finances and things like that?
When we went to this university in USA, all our seniors, they made us take up this health insurance, which was a mandatory thing. So during our education, we had this subsidized health insurance, right, for students. And then he joined the job, and he was covered with like entire insurance, right? He had this insurance from his job, and all the expenses are covered for him. And the only paperwork that I saw was in form of letters later, the bills and what are the expenses for what is the expense for. So it was completely hassle free, and luckily he was in the job. And because in US it is very expensive, if you're going into emergency, if you had a sports incident, insurance is not covered, right? You go to an emergency, then it's very, very costly. And if you're a student, it's very painful. But luckily for him, all the insurance is covered by his place where he was doing the job.
Another question I had, do you have any anecdotes or do you remember any funny things that happened in the hospital when you were there with him, or something that was embarrassing but to you guys to see? Was there anything like that to see your friend go through? Was there any moments like that?
Not many, but something putting him on a cathedral and he going through that, and many of us seeing for the first time, like it was quite funny, not in a very serious way, but and little embarrassing for him as well, I guess. So yeah, that was something that is what I could recollect.
Oh no, I thought it was just me and my uncle in the room. Oops, I didn't know you were around when the catheter was being fit.
One of the things in the previous episode he mentioned, I just wanted to know if he talked about it to you guys then when he was in the room later on. He thought that, the view that he was seeing was a poster and in the room. And he didn't, only much later on when he went back to thank the nurses and revisited the hospital and he revisited his room, he realized that is the actual view that happened there. So did he tell you about these things?
No, actually, he did not. So this was his bed, and towards his right, there is this huge window where one could see mountains. And just below that window, there's a couch. I think he was thinking that mountains view as a poster, I guess, at that point of time. That's what I think, yeah.
So I know that after a couple of days in the hospital, Rohit was shifted to the rehab center, and for all the activities and for rehabilitating him back to his current condition. So were you there? Did you meet him then?
So post discharge, he came back to the room. That's where when we met, and he was on medication. I think blood thinners was his medication, and then he had this 3-week rehab that he had to attend, and that was a very good thing for him, because over the period of time during the rehab, he had this recovery and he started to recognize everybody. So I was not particularly going to the rehab. I think I went once or twice, but Gautam and other roommates who went there where he was doing the rehab.
So after he came back to the apartment where you guys were staying, what was it like around him? After, this was also obviously after rehab, so now he's somewhat recovered, and and obviously there was a whole bunch of more recovery to go. But how was he like? Did things change, or like his way of living, did it change?
Okay, to be honest, there was no difference. We were roommates, right? And we are living in a country where individuality is on high level. Everybody respects each other. So everybody had their own set of things to do, they used to do. And when during the weekend we used to chit chat, and we were respecting each other's space. That was before. And after also we would do the same. We would not have a extra sympathy or show any kind of sympathy or nothing like that. He has recovered, he has gone through something. Okay, now he's recovered. Let's give him that space. And we were doing all the things that were normal.
Did he ever reach out to you guys to ask for any help for any particular thing? Like a day-to-day daily activity? Was there something that you had to help him with when he initially came back home?
I wish he would have, because I think he's too proud to ask for help in general as a person. He never asks for help. He does it if he can, but even after these circumstances also, he never used to ask any help, but just used to talk normally, be normally. So it was like that.
I think it's also a defense mechanism for him, because it's like you've gone through a trauma, people around you know it, people now you're living with again know it. We automatically end up putting up a brave front around people because they've seen us in the most delicate, vulnerable moment, and we don't want to go through that again. So I think I understand where that comes from. So a couple of more questions I had. He was basically doing everything on his own, but was he able to stay alone?
I'm not sure about that, because he was going to office as well, and I realized that his energy levels were dropping. Like, he was not the same Rohit, the energetic Rohit that we saw, and it was a little concern, but also we would understand that he has gone through a lot. And later maybe we realized there was no very good after hospitalization treatment, right? In India, like when you get out of surgery, you are required to go for like 15 days for 2 or 3 meetings and see how the medication is reacting, and they'll revise the medication. And that kind of post visits were not enough, I guess, because I'm not sure, but I thought like those visitations like completely stopped at some point of time. Maybe if that would have been there, maybe he would have recovered even more faster and would have been like on top of things.
You said that he was of low energy, but was there any particular thing that you were noticing about him that made you think like that?
Yeah, the energy wise, he generally jumps in with full of energy, right? He might have realized that there is a drop of energy and would have dent his confidence. So over a period of time, his confidence also kind of goes down a bit, probably, and it affects his job that he's doing, work he's doing, and in all different ways.
Did he ever talk to you about these things? I know you noticed it, and maybe your friends also noticed it, but did he ever personally come and talk to you about these things?
No, I don't think he never went to anyone to talk all these things. He's not, I don't know, he might have talked to any other person, but not with me.
Alright, so after the studies and everything, and Rohit came back to India, did you guys meet constantly?
It was a marriage of one of my friend. I don't remember the year. Probably in 2012 or not 2012 or 2014. I don't remember.
So that means if you met him after 2012, then you probably don't know that he had an epileptic episode in 2012. Do you know about that?
No, I didn't know that.
So over the years also he has suffered from epilepsy, and which again at some point also led to his next stroke, which happened in 2023. So what I want to know is, from the time of 2009, when he was so physically fit over these years, and now when you see him today, so much has changed. Anyway, normally also we change a lot over the years. I'm sure you've changed a lot over the years. But going through these traumas and these continuous traumas, it changes all of us. So in a way more different way. So, physically and emotionally, even when you talk to him once in a while, do you feel the difference? You can see it?
All right. So in 2022, we had a small get-together. I think Rajesh flew from US, one of the roommate, and Gautam flew from Bangalore, and there was Vijay. So we all met. This was in 2022, right? And what we felt was like he was very normal. Like there was no difference, or it didn't even made us ask how extra careful are you or nothing like that. He was completely normal. He was being himself in 2022. And I didn't realize that he had this stroke in 2023. And today, when I met him, he's completely out of shape. Like I never saw him this out of shape. And it little hurt me to see him this out of shape. But yeah, I think I spoke to him and he said this is the side effects of the medicines that he's taking, and there is no control of the weight part of it for him.
Actually, well, I mean, it's a lot of things, It's not just about the meds. It's also about there are a couple of other things that are tangled in with people who go through strokes and epilepsies. It pulls you down mentally. It absorbs, takes away your capacity to do things because it brings in fatigue. Medicines bring in a lot of fatigue because, I mean, just imagine this has been now 13 or 12 years or even more, and every day in and day out, you have to take medicines. You can't miss a single dose. So you are not allowed to. And that is such a big change in our lives that even if we try to miss one, or if we end up missing one for some reason, we panic. It causes a spiraling effect. And it really transforms, or it causes a particular kind of situation. In this case, at some point, it happened to Rohit that in 2012, in the previous episode, he had mentioned that he missed a couple of doses, and because of which he had hit into the epileptic zone. And it's unfortunate, but it's true that it happens. We have to be very careful about our meds, and we have to constantly take them. We can't miss a single dose. We are always on a watch, We have to be around people always. If you're alone, there is a fear factor to it. There's anxiety attached to it. And in all this, your brain is foggy. So what happens is that you get pulled down back in your life. You want to move forward, but you take 2 steps back. Then you move forward, then you take 2 steps back. And all this just weighs down on you. And it has happened to me too. And just in 2 years, it has happened so much to me. So his is way a longer story to tell. But all in all, I think we can only wish him the best of the health. And, we would only want to see him get better, nothing else. And it's great that he has a job, and a really good one, and he's great at it. So, and he has the luxury of waking up really late and going to work whenever he wants, which is awesome. I wish I had that luxury. But yeah, all in all, it is what it is, and we always look forward to things. So thank you so much, Venu. Thank you so much for contributing to this podcast. So, to end this on a lighter note, I just wanted to ask you one more thing. Okay, so Rohit is super, super proud about his cooking, and he loves to boast about it a lot. Was he like this even in college?
Yeah, absolutely. He gives us a small intro of what he prepared and how amazing it would be. But yeah, like many things, he talks a lot. His food was fine, good, okay, and unlike his intro of how great the food would be.
Well, some things haven't changed. We hear a lot, but we don't get it that way. Well, he's giving you a really good build-up. So I'm sure while he was cooking up the story in his head on how he's going to present it. But yeah, thank you so much, Venu. Thank you so much for coming and helping us out with our podcast. And this episode is about talking about our colleagues and our friends and what they saw and they experienced while we were going through the episode and all the changes that have come along. There are more friends to come. There are more episodes like this to come where more of our friends and colleagues will come and talk. So watch out for those.
Yes, Swathi. I really want to thank Venu for coming and joining us here on the podcast and sharing his views. And now that the episode is done, Venu, just come with me aside. I want to actually refresh your memory about my cooking. Okay?
And thank you so much for listening in to us. As usual, we would love to hear from you again. And we would love to have you participate with us and, come in and contribute and, bring your family members or your friends who were actually there as first responders. This is something that we would love to do in the future. So look out for us. We are Rewired and it is not a race.